Well, what happened last night? It's the conservative Pelican here with the post-mortem or post-maybe jubilant primary election report. If you follow me on Facebook, you know that, I shuffled some things around this morning. I was going to go in. I go into work at 9:15, and I was going to go in about an hour earlier and get the car serviced and inspected and everything. And this particular place that I take the car to, they do not take appointments. So if you're not first, you're last, kind of thing. And I was running a little bit late for that this morning, but I'm still running early for work, so that's a good thing. And just didn't feel like dealing with the traffic's not too bad here in Greensboro, but a lot of cars on the road right around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Of course, you go into work about 9, or actually, going to work 9:15. You leave here about 8:45. Definitely the road was almost empty. So I was going to do the post-mortem report, or post-jubilant report, however you want to slice and dice it, later this afternoon or tomorrow. But I went ahead and said, it's a beautiful morning. Let's go outside. Let's do it out here. Plus, I didn't want to wake my roommates because I'm going to be very animated. Of course, a lot of other reasons I'm animated anyway, but I'm going to be very animated, very frank with you throughout this whole broadcast. Okay, so let's begin here. Hat tip, North Carolina State Board of Elections page. And I'm going to go ahead and get the really big surprises out of the way first. The biggest surprise of the night, was and again, all the races I'm going to cover are on the Republican side. The Democrats, they do their thing and blah, blah, blah. So, the NC Auditor race on the Republican side was won by our buddy Anthony Street. Yes, the small business owner way down there in Brunswick County, might as well be South Carolina. This was a very, very decisive victory. He won by 80,000 votes. 56-44 was the percentage margin over Tim Hagemeyer of Wake County. Now, this was a this race was how should I say it? Let the birds chirp for a couple seconds. Was very. I'll admit I saw this as a big uphill battle for Anthony Street. And I'm going to go my Michael Savage arrogant self right now and say that I was the only conservative group / media outlet in the entire state who endorsed Anthony Street. Everybody else, y'all sold out to Tim Hagemeyer. Let's see, the Rhino Times, the Daily Haymaker, the Conservative Coalition, led by the great Jim Womack, by the way. Y'all sold out to Tim Hagemeyer. You never gave my buddy Anthony Street a chance, but I did. I endorsed him, okay? And guess what? He won. Why did Anthony Street win? Well, I'll tell you the biggest reason was he started racing for the job just about a year ago. Yeah, way back in March. I seen him at pretty much every single county and district convention, certainly the state convention, the candidate forum on a weeknight in Chatham County way back in September. I saw him everywhere, okay? Tim Hogemeyer, I think he announced like in November. So Anthony Street had like an 8-month head start on him. Another thing that why Anthony Street won this race? Well, Anthony Street was an outsider. He's a small business owner from Brunswick County. I mean, he's got a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. The man knows business, okay? Tim Hogemeyer, also very qualified, has a college degree. But the thing that hurt him was that he, for 10 years, worked for the Democrat Bethwood. 10 years worked for a Democrat. Okay, now to be fair, yes, he worked for the Republican auditor Les Merrick before that. Okay, before Bethwood, but for 10 years he worked for a Democrat. So you combine Anthony Street outworked him. Anthony Street doesn't live in Wake County, didn't work for a Democrat for 10 years. That's why Anthony Street won this race by 12 points. Okay? Now, the other big surprise of the night was the Commissioner of Labor race. Now, this one, I'll just say, y'all got some explaining to do. Big time explaining. Because our friend, or our sister buddy, Pearl Burris Floyd, who I endorsed, lost this race badly, okay? Placed third out of 3 candidates. 22% of the vote, with about 150,000 was the official vote count for our friend Pearl. Pearl Burris, a wonderful, wonderful lady, very articulate, and I think the only candidate for the labor job who actually has experience working, in the labor field. And what I mean by that was, she did hospital inspections, lab inspections for like 30 years, okay? And yet she lost to a guy by the name of Josh Dobson, who, state legislature, represents a district way out west somewhere. He was one of the co-sponsors of legislation that would undermine the great, outstanding work of our state treasurer, Dale Falwell. And he won this race with 40.3% of the vote. And by the way, this is another argument for why we should raise the runoff threshold in the state from 30% to 50%. Thank you very much. Now, the guy who finished in second place was Chuck Stanley. And the thing about Chuck Stanley was, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he did not go to one single solitary candidate for him throughout the entire primary season. I mean, and yet he finished second place. He finished only 17,000 votes behind Josh Dobson. And he finished second. And our friend Pearl finished third. This is one of those races where you just have to say, WTF, what the frick went on here? Okay. Whew, man. Okay. Now let's go to the other races. The governor's race. Dan Forrest. Really, really great night for him. 89% of the vote. This was not surprising because Dan Forrest actually campaigned for this job. Holly Grange did absolutely nothing campaign-wise in this race. Well, actually, I take that back. Last Saturday, 3 days before the primary election, I actually received some emails from Holly Grange for the first time. So, and if you want to hear something more impressive, in Holly Grange's home county of New Hanover, she got 27% of the vote. That's it. She not only got shellacked from Murphy to Mania, but she got shellacked in her home county. Dan Forrest still won New Hanover County with, what's 100 minus 27? With 73% of the vote. Okay, now if there's one warning sign for Dan Forest, it's what Roy Cooper got. Now, Roy Cooper got 1.1 million votes. Dan Forest got just a shade under 700,000 votes. So Dan Forest is going to have to find about 400,000 votes. Okay, so that is a little concerning there, that in a primary race, Democrat enthusiasm was way up. Republican enthusiasm, not so much, at least in the governor's race. A little concerning that over 1 million people in this state voted for Roy Cooper. Crazy, because Cooper is awful. And by the way, if you want to look at the baseline of all these numbers, there are just a little under 7 million registered voters here in North Carolina. Well, 6,940,995, you want to be exact, just a shade under 7 million. Of those 7 million registered voters, 31%, only 31% decide to vote in the primary. Yeah, pretty low. And if you want to know the official number, it was 2,156,409 ballots cast. Okay, going to now the lieutenant governor's race. This was the one race where everybody, including myself, thought that we were going to head for a runoff, because we were like, 9 candidates are in this race. I don't think it's possible any of them get over 30%, but we were wrong. Mark Robinson, who lives about 5 minutes away from yours truly here in Greensboro, Mark Robinson won this race. 32.52% of the vote, 239,844 was the official number. And this was a shellacking of the entire 9-person field, because the very next person, Andy Wells, got only 107,000 votes, or 14.56%. So Robinson crushed this field. Okay, coming in third was Mark Johnson, the current superintendent of public instruction. And the numbers get, okay, 12% of the vote. John Ritter, this was a very good showing for John Ritter, I will say. Very well liked in Moore County. The rest of the state, though, really does not have the connections, but he still finished fourth, 11.47. And then we have our drop-off, Renee Elmers. Now, when I went to bed, Renee Elmers was in 8th place. She finished 5th, so she went up a little bit. Renee Elmers, 6.82%. So this is where we really see the drop-off now. And I hope this is the end, I hope, of her political career, at least as a statewide, and certainly as a national candidate. She's over. And taking a look here at the map, the map. Come on now. Okay. And to answer your question, yes, she won Harnett County, which is where she lives, I believe. But she only won that county by 98 votes to Mark Robinson. She also, believe it or not, won Cumberland County for some odd reason. That one was by a little over about 123 votes over Mark Robinson. John Ritter won Moore County. Scott Stone, no big surprise, won Mecklenburg County. Andy Wells won Catawba County. And our friend and endorsement, Deborah Cochran, won Surrey County. A very impressive showing in Surrey County. She beat Mark Robinson by over 1,000 votes, by the way, in Surrey County. Looking at the rest of the Lieutenant Governor field here, as I wait for this internet connection to load here. We scroll down and we see Greg Gephardt, who was the establishment candidate in this race. Probably a little disappointing. He finished in 6th place. However, he is fairly young, probably right around 40 or so. So he'll probably run again for something. This, I think, was his first election, but it's not going to be his last. Deborah Cochran was next, 7th place, 6.52%. Edged out Scott Stone of Charlotte. And this, Scott Stone won Mecklenburg County, but the rest of the state, this had to be very disappointing for him to finish 8th place for him. And then 9th. First-time candidate. Just, he's probably really disappointed that he finished last place, and he got 20,000 votes. The next person, Scott Stone, got 48,000 votes. So, yeah, quite a bit of drop-off to Buddy Bengal. But again, first time running, as for in any election, I think. And yeah, just was not able to really get any traction in, I think. Let me go back and look at the map again. Craven County finished 2nd, but got absolutely shellacked by Mark Robinson in Craven County. Robinson 4,783, Buddy Bengal 1,901. So it's very difficult, if not impossible, in a statewide race if you cannot at least win your home county or even your home base of East Carolina, for that matter. But again, better days are ahead for Buddy Bengal, I believe. The Attorney General's race. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, Jim O'Neill won this race. 46.56% of the vote, 337,000. Sam Hayes, very good showing for him because he was the only Attorney General candidate that did not advertise on TV. Okay. Sam Hayes, 225,000 votes, 31.12% of the vote. Last was Christine Mumba. Has to be very disappointing showing for her. 22.32% of the vote, 162,000 votes. Not a good showing for Christine Mumba. She advertised on TV as well with Jim O'Neill a lot. And also got the endorsement of Barbara Jackson, the former Republican Supreme Court Justice here in North Carolina. So while you consider all that, again, very disappointing for her. But the thing that probably hurt her a lot was that she gave money to Josh Stein, the current Democrat Attorney General. So that really, really hurt her. Very impressed Sam Hayes. I voted for him. Finished 2nd. Again, this race is an argument where there should have been a runoff between O'Neill and Hayes. Was Christine Mumba a plant? Tough to say because she's been a Republican since the early 90s. But when you add up 31% for Sam Hayes and Christine Mumba for 22%, you get 53%. Versus Jim O'Neill's 47%. It looks like she's a plant, but can't really say that because, again, she's been a Republican for like 30 years. Okay, the auditor race. Already covered that. Congratulations to Mr. Street. Commissioner of Insurance. This one was a lot more lopsided than I thought it would be. Mike Halsey, 446,000 votes, 65% of the vote. Ronald Pierce, who we endorsed, 245,000, 35% of the vote. This was a pretty convincing win for Mike Halsey. Again, Ronald Pierce out-campaigned, outworked Mike Halsey in this race, but yet, unfortunately, sometimes people just have their favorites, I guess, and Mike Halsey won, despite Ronald Pierce really ran a very good campaign. A contractor from the Charlotte area. Again, a lot of people like Mike Halsey. Unfortunately, also Ronald Pierce did not get endorsements from any conservative groups or media except for me. He also did pretty poorly in Mecklenburg County, and got 36% of the vote. He won one county, that was Cleveland County, with 51% of the vote. That was thanks to our buddy Guy Smith, by the way. Okay, and what is next on our little political journey here? Secretary of State. E.C. Sykes pulled off this race, 43% of the vote, 295,000 to Chad Brown, 261,000, 38% of the vote. Michael LaPaglia, our choice, has to be a very, very just ugly night for him. Very, very disappointing showing, considering he won the nomination 4 years ago, and he had a very strong showing in the general election, only losing to Elaine Marshall by 4 points. 52-48 was the margin in the general. Michael LaPaglia, 19% of the vote. That's it, 131,000. And then when you look at the map, let's go to the map. Map. This was a case of Michael LaPaglia. The only part of the state that he did well in was Craven, Pamlico, and Carteret County. New Bern, Morehead City, that area. And that area is not pretty low populated. Chad Brown did very well western North Carolina, with the exception of Polk County and Watauga County. Those went for Sykes. All the other metro areas in the state, Chad Brown also did well. Won Robinson, Scotland, Richland, and Montgomery County. E.C. Sykes, though, Raleigh area, Charlotte area, most of the counties east of I-95, most of the counties between 85 and 95, central part of the state, east part of the state, were won by E.C. Sykes. Some East Carolina counties that went to Chad Brown: Hyde County, Tyrrell County, Camden County, Hertford County, Bertie, and Martin County. This race, what probably really helped was, I hate to say it, but money. E.C. Sykes had an enormous war chest in this race. The money was like, E.C. Sykes, I think, had, I don't know the official number, but it was like 800,000. Chad Brown had like 200,000, and LaPaglia had like 80,000. So when you're getting outspent 10-1, pretty hard to win. Also, E.C. Sykes had endorsement from James Dobson and Ted Cruz. But again, I really wanted LaPaglia to win here. He won the nomination 4 years ago. He was the first person to announce they were running for 2020. He's also been out there for like a year. He's also was the first candidate to talk about these legal notaries that Elaine Marshall is authorizing. And I voted for LaPaglia despite the fact Chad Brown was a former minor league baseball player for the Baltimore Orioles, my favorite team. And, of course, E.C. Sykes. I love Ted Cruz. I love James Dobson. So, still vote for LaPaglia. But E.C. Sykes now, again, Ted Cruz helped him. Of course, he helped Ted Cruz in 2016 with his presidential campaign in North Carolina. Hopefully, Ted Cruz now will come back. And I'll get behind him, E.C. Sykes, obviously, and hopefully Ted Cruz will help him out a lot here in this race, too. Okay, but again, 42.9% of the vote, Chad Brown, 38% of the vote. Yeah, the runoff threshold should be 50%. Okay. Superintendent of Public Instruction, the last council state race, then we're going to move on to some other races. This one was a very, very convincing win. Catherine Truitt, who we endorsed, won this race by just about 90,000 votes. 57% of the vote to 43% for Craig Horn. Okay, this was the case of a Craig Horn being a sitting member of the state legislature and also on the education committee versus Catherine Truitt, who worked in the McCory administration but has also been a chancellor of an online university, Western Governors University, as well as a high school teacher before that, and a parent. And plus, she's like only in her 40s. Craig Horner is like in his 70s. So, Catherine Truitt, plus towards the end of the race, she got a lot of help from a lot of the conservative groups around the state. Also, Craig Horn spoke to a Tea Party group out in the west part of the state and apparently did not stay and take any questions. And that was reported widely on Facebook, by the way. So that's another reason why Craig Horn did very poorly in this race. He did win Union County, Anson County, his base. Won some counties in the mountains, believe it or not, and then won Craven County and Carteret County. But the rest of the state, you're talking 90 counties out of 100, Catherine Truitt won. Did very well. Okay, now let's go to... What are we going to go to now? I'm going to go to some congressional races here. Fit to roll. Federal. Presidential preference in the Constitution Party. No preference. And by the way, only less than 500 people voted in the Constitution Party. Democrat Joe Biden won in North Carolina. The Green Party, congratulations to them. They actually picked a candidate, Howard Hankins, with 61% of the vote, and 247 people voted for him, by the way. Presidential preference in the Libertarian race. No preference, 30% of the vote, 2,000 people voted. Uh-oh, big numbers there. Okay, on the Republican side, of course, Donald Trump. 94% of the vote, 747,000 people voted for the Trump. Tom Tillis. I voted for Larry Holmquist, but I kind of knew the writing was on the wall and Tom Tillis was going to win this race. I thought he would get about 60%. He did better than I thought. He got 78% of the vote, 606,000. Paul Wright, believe it or not, the perennial candidate Paul Wright, 59,000 votes, 7.5%. Larry Holmquist was next, 57,135, 7.36%. Sharon Hudson's 54,330, 7% of the vote. First congressional district, has to be our friend Michelle Nix, one of the nicest people you ever meet, and somebody who, if you ask her to do something, she'll do it for you. Michelle Nix got blown out in this race. Sorry, Michelle, I had to use that word. Blown out. Sandy Smith was the victor here, 77% of the vote, 331,000 votes to Michelle Nix's 4,000 votes, 9% of the vote. Michelle Nix ran for the 3rd congressional district seat last year. Did not do well in that race either, unfortunately. Is Michelle Nix maybe punching a little above her weight class, maybe? I don't know. Do I hope she continues in politics? Oh, yes. Absolutely, yes. Jim Gleason was next. 3,000 votes. And then Ethan Baca. Better days ahead for Mr. Baca. But a poor showing in this race. 2,237 votes in that race. The thing that might have hurt Michelle Nix in this particular race was she lived outside the district. However, her county, Lenore County, borders the 1st congressional district. So even though she did technically live outside the district, she was not like the 6th congressional race where Lauren Pichardo lives like 30 miles outside the race, outside her district. Fortunately, our buddy Lee Haywood took care of her in that race. He got, where's that? He got 73.25% of the vote, 29,000 to Pichardo's 10,000 votes, by the way. And again, the fourth district, Stephen Von Lohr, who has run before, did not do well. Only got 6,000 votes, 17.23% of the vote. Robert Thomas had a computer teacher in middle school named Robert Thomas. I don't think it's the same guy though, but very strong showing from 48% of the vote in that contest. Lee Haywood, well-deserved victory for him. Longtime activist in the party, longtime district chairman, and has lived in Greensboro pretty much, I think, his whole life, pretty much. Pichardo, moderate Republican, pushing amnesty and some other not-so-great ideas, too. Okay, the 10th district, Patrick McHenry, the kind of a rhino, got 72% of the vote here. He actually got less than Tom Tillis. Okay, the one runoff we're going to have, probably the only one, is in the 11th congressional district. Linda Bennett versus Madison Cawthorn. Linda Bennett, 23% of the vote. Madison Cawthorn, 20% of the vote. And that was a 12-person field, by the way. Okay. What else do we want to look at? State Senate. Come on, computer, you can do it. Wow, time's going by fast. I gotta wrap it up here soon. State Senate District 11. Lisa Barnes won this race, 68% of the vote, despite accusations that she gave money to some Democrats in the recent past. That's Johnston and Nash counties, by the way. What else? Let's see. I'm just going to scroll along here. See if I see anything. Sarah Crawford. My sister is named Sarah Crawford, but it's not the same Sarah Crawford, though. Democrat. My sister's also a Democrat, unfortunately. Wake and Franklin County is the Senate District 18. Sarah got 21,000 votes. Angela Bridgman got 7,000 votes. That was a shellacking by Sarah Crawford. Okay. Senate District 29, Davison and Montgomery County. This was a very close race. Pretty close. 53 to 47%. Steve Jarvis edged out Eddie Gallimore. And that's all I want to say about the NC Senate. Going to the House. NC House. There we go. House District 3, Michael Speciale retiring. This was an open seat. Jim Core, the conservative choice endorsed by Daily Haymaker, unfortunately did not win, did very poorly. Steve Tyson, the winner here, 53% of the vote. 21% of the vote for Jim Core. That margin was about 3,000 votes there, but small population area. Bobby Hanig of Dare County holds on to his seat, 71% of the vote to 29% for Rob Rawlson. George Cleveland, the great George Cleveland, keeps his seat in Onslow County, 4,000 votes to 1,956 for Cindy Edwards. Phil Shepard, another great conservative, 4,000 votes exactly to 1,532 for Mark Price. Okay. House District 20, Southern New Hanover County, Ted Davis, the moderate, versus Justin Lanassa, the conservative and sometimes libertarian. Ted Davis wins 6,200 votes to 1,900 votes to Lanassa. Lanassa is, he takes good conservative positions, but he is not part of the old money establishment in Wilmington. He's a tattoo shop owner, and unfortunately in politics a lot of times your image is everything. So he, again, another poor showing for Lanassa, which is unfortunate because he'd be better as a legislator than Ted Davis, Let's see, what else do we have here? Scrolling on a Sunday afternoon. Moore County, Jamie Bowles wins again, 60% of the vote, to Bob Thames, 40% of the vote. So, still can't get Mr. Bowles out of that seat, unfortunately. John Hardister, East Wake County, wins his seat, 5,627, to Alan Chappelle. No, not the Chappelle Show, but Alan Chappelle. 1,417 was his vote total. Let's see here. Alamance County area, Dennis Riddell defeats the young Republican upstart. 6,225 for Riddell, 1,246 for McClellan. Our Facebook friend, Joey Davis, loses his race. Ben Moss, 57% of the vote to Joey Davis's 43% of the votes. Roger Younts, a party activist in this area, loses, unfortunately, to Sam Watford, 4,117 for Watford. Younts, 3,169. Haley Sink, the young Republican, 2,149. Okay. Larry Pittman, the great, outstanding Larry Pittman, 4,773. He's the victor there. Jay White, 3,089 for Jay White. And that is all for the House races. Let's go to New Hanover County, my old stomping grounds, if I can find the thing here. And I gotta wrap things up soon. Try to get this video in. Okay. New Hanover. Da, 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 da. Or is it used to be on the vehicle registration? New Ha. Board of Commissioner races. 9 Republicans run. You can vote for 3. Okay, Skip Watkins, who got defeated, unfortunately, in, I think it was 2018, comes roaring back. The top vote getter, 8,422. Bill Rivenbark, second place, 7,222. Deb Hayes, former candidate for City Council, now is the Republican nominee for Board of Commissioners with 6,744, followed by Matt Rhodes, Joe Herrera, Harry Knight, John Lyon, our buddy Frank Mears. I love Frank Mears. Great person. Common folk, blue collar. Unfortunately finished in 8th place. 3,087 for him. Unfortunately, a lot of times in New Hanover County politics, again, if you're not part of that Forest Hills old money set or the landfall set, aka landfill set, it's difficult to get elected to office. Or the downtown set, I should say. Ugh, okay. And Ricky Meeks, the perennial candidate and the perennial Wave Transit bus rider. Last place, but certainly not least in my heart, 2007-80 Board of Education in New Hanover. You vote for 3, but there are only 4 choices. Stephanie Craybill, the top vote getter, 11,053. Pete Wildeber, 10,952, and our old friend Janice Cavanaugh, the great Janice Cavanaugh, pro neighborhood schools Janice Cavanaugh, outstanding conservative there, will be Republican nominee, the last Republican nominee on the ticket, 10,577. Register of Deeds, Tammy Beasley, the Republican incumbent, holds off Kimberly Phillips by a margin of just about 4,000 votes in that contest. 64 to 36 were the percentages. Okay. And let's see. Oh, the referendum in Forsyth County, the sales tax referendum, unfortunately passed 60 to 40%. And by the way, I think a lot of people were duped here because a lot of people, I think, didn't know that this quarter-cent sales tax, a lot of them thought it was going to go to the school buildings, but no, it goes to teacher supplement pay. So, yeah. Is it really, is paying an extra quarter cent really going to make your kid's life easier? I don't think so. Really, Forsyth County. But Alamance County rejected their quarter-cent sales tax by 60 to 40. So there you go. Gotta love Alamance County. It's that red firewall between Guilford and Orange County there on the I-40 corridor. Okay, now we'll cover Guilford County, and we're going to local. This will be it, which is good because I got to go to work very soon. Okay, the nail biter. This one looks like a recount, smells like a recount, probably is going to be a recount. Our good friend Troy Lawson, former chair of the Guilford County GOP, right now pulls out a squeaker, 2,217 to Cindy the Rhino Hayworth, 2,165. That is County Commission District 5. District 6, Jim Davis wins this race pretty convincingly. 3,000 votes to 1,925 for our buddy Jason Ewan, who we endorsed. Okay, and the one Democrat race I'll mention, Guilford County Board of Education, District 7, Byron Gladden, who oftentimes has worked across the aisle with Republicans, he got shellacked, beaten badly in this race. Third place out of 3 candidates. He got 14% of the vote, 1,583. Betty Jenkins was the winner here, 61% of the vote, 7,000 votes to only 1,583. But wait, Javon Johnson, second place, 2,805. And that is your primary election post-mortem / post-jubilant report for the Conservative Pelican. I'm Bobby Crawford. Have a wonderful day.